Welcome to the 5th episode of the first season of For Pete's Sake. I'm Pete.
I'm Gibbs.
And I'm Trev.
Gibbs, should we give the listeners a quick agenda of the topics that we'll be covering today?
Yeah, we got a great episode for you guys today. I think one of our best so far. We're going to get into the Madden and 2K rankings. They got released earlier this week, and we're going to be breaking those down and then do a quick check-in on the state of Detroit sports. Then pass things over to Pete for everyone's favorite segment, For Pete's Sake.
Thanks, bud.
And then some talk about what could be the most athletic and draining sport of all time. And pass things over to the birthday boy Trev for his story of the week. Happy birthday, man.
Oh, thank you, man.
How was the birthday?
You know, it was really nice. Had a nice dinner down in Detroit, but I'm ready for what is sure to be a top 5 episode of this podcast so far.
We're excited for that story at the end there, Trev.
I'm glad you enjoyed the day off.
Oh, no, for sure. Always nice to kick back and relax a little bit.
Well, let's jump right into that first topic you mentioned, which were this week the NBA 2K20 ratings came out, as well as the Madden. Should we start with the NBA? Is that all right?
Let's dive in.
The slow summer of news when we were talking about the NBA player ratings, but so let's start out with the top 20 players. How about actually this near let down top 5? You want me to read you a list here of the top 5 players?
Let's get into it. You want to have me try to guess the top 5?
Yeah, well, I got a tie for number 1 here.
It's got to be LeBron. There's no doubt about it.
King James is one of them.
Other one, Giannis maybe, or Harden?
I'll give you a hint. Fun guy.
Ah, Kawhi, yes, of course.
Tied at a 97 overall, which, makes sense. Kawhi obviously coming off the championship, won the MVP, and LeBron's LeBron, so I was not surprised they gave him that.
I feel like they release the game every single year, but what really changes?
Just the players on the teams, that's it.
No, that's all that you get with the update.
That's every sporting game ever, too. It doesn't matter what sport.
Yeah, MLB.
Madden, FIFA, NHL, really just constant rehash.
Is Boban in the top 20?
We'll get to him.
Okay.
No.
Darn it. He deserves it.
Well, rounding out the top 5 here, we got Giannis is 96, KD's 96, and Harden's 96. For me, I think KD, I would have had him tied for number 1, just personally. I think that when he's healthy, obviously the Achilles could be a factor here. But as a healthy player, I think he's top 2, 3 players in the league. I think he's on par with LeBron and Kawhi.
Yeah, I was playing some 2K with him last night, and he's virtually unguardable in that game. He can beat anyone off the drive. He's just so tall, and he can shoot too. He's just a fun player to play in 2K. But to some extent, he's kind of a cheat code. I feel bad using him when I play.
The Slim Reaper.
At least he's not on the Warriors anymore, so you can't feel bad.
Yeah,
if
that's
you
true.
Use that team.
But you said a cheat code in the game. That's what it was kind of in real life for the past 3 years, huh? With the rules. The one objection I kind of had was I don't know if I put Harden in that top 5 category. I know he's won MVPs, runner-up this year. I might have had Steph up there with him. I just think Steph Curry, I would have him on par with Harden, if not above.
Yeah. No, I guess you'll be able to see it with Curry, as he takes over the Warriors this year, just how good he really is. Because, he was more of a shooter the last couple years in the past, and he's going to really have to, take over that team this year.
I would have put him at 95 with Harden. I think Harden is just 1 too high, personally. Curry, you got to remember, before Durant arrived, he did lead the Warriors to a championship,
That's true,
as the
yeah.
leader. Harden, as good as the Rockets have been lately, he really hasn't been able to take them anywhere in the postseason.
Well, we'll see how Curry does this year, too, as he's going to be the lone star out there. You got D'Angelo Russell. I have no idea how that's going to fit, but we'll have to see there. There is a Piston. I know you've been wondering. There is a Piston in the top 20.
There's no doubt it's Griffin. I'm wondering what his ranking is though.
It's actually Luke Kennard.
I'm calling BS. There's no way.
It is Blake Griffin. Well, first off, in this list is using players' nicknames to show where they are. So LeBron was King James or whatever. Blake Griffin they listed before as BG. Has anyone ever called Blake Griffin
nickname?
BG in his life?
Where did that come from?
Isn't that a band?
Maybe he listens to the Bee Gees before the game.
That's what I was thinking, Staying Alive.
Just like his career.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. You read my mind.
So you think those ratings are about appropriate? Griffin's at 88 overall, so he's tied for 16.
He's coming off a really great year. The only thing is hopefully injuries are, you're playing with him with the injuries off, because that's getting him to be a problem at this point with his age.
Well, the people that they have him tied with in the list are Rudy Gobert, Kemba, Jimmy Butler, and Donovan Mitchell. The only one there I would say is for sure ahead of him, for me at least, would be Donovan Mitchell. I would have had him at least a 90. Being on par with Gobert, I think, is about fair. Gobert is obviously a much better defensive player, but his offensive game really doesn't have the sort of wide range that Blake's does. Jimmy Butler and Kemba, I mean, Kemba's probably about fair at 88. Jimmy Butler, I think, is kind of overrated, and he wouldn't have been in the top 20 for me.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's about the 20 best players I think of when it comes to the NBA. And, of course, ratings will change throughout the season.
Of course.
Well, I was watching this week, too, because switching gears here to the other game was Madden 20. Do you know there's Madden, performance evaluators for players that go onto the fields?
I love it. Yeah, no, I've actually heard players talking about that in photos on Twitter throughout the season of these guys, and it's how can you really rate someone, especially just seeing them for one game? But it's a crazy job. I wonder, how you get that job.
I looked it up and I couldn't find it.
Dang, I wonder what the salary is too.
I don't know. Well, they got cool jackets. Like I said, it's as the ratings will change throughout the season, and the people, obviously the game will change them, and they send these people out to actually watch the games, write down notes on their notepad, and then come back and adjust the ratings for the players. It's an awesome job.
I love it. I mean, 2K needs to jump on board with that too.
Should we do the top 4 players? There's 3 or 4 players tied for the top spot in Madden. There's no 100 ranking in Madden. It only goes up to 99. Would you like to take a couple guesses here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Khalil Mack is going to be a 99. Outside of that, not too sure.
We got Aaron Donald.
Okay, makes sense.
Could have been a Lion. One stings a little bit there. Is that the Ebron draft?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of players on this list that could have been Lions, to be fair.
We also had DeAndre Hopkins and Bobby Wagner, which is a bit of a surprise from the Seahawks, just because the middle linebacker, you would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
I'm a bit shocked that they didn't put Mahomes as a 99, just coming off the season that he had last year. He's a 97 top-ranked quarterback.
I mean, he's still so young, and it was one season, and look at all the weapons that he had, and now he doesn't have those. I mean, I guess Hill will be playing this year, at least for the time being, but
Kelsey too.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Kelsey, but he lost Hunt, obviously, and who knows if Hill's going to be able to play full season this year with everything else going on there.
You're right. I think Brady is number 2 ranked. I think he's about a 96 overall. Travis, you're looking at the punters there.
Oh, the most important position in football, and the illustrious title of being the highest rated punter in all of Madden this year goes to Rams punter Johnny Hecker at an 86. He's only one ahead of Sam Cooke, though, for the Baltimore Ravens.
Wasn't that a singer, Sam Cooke?
I'm lost.
I think it's from the 80s, so my bad. For those of you wondering, those Lions fans out there, Stafford is a 79 overall. He's behind guys like Andy Dalton, Marcus Mariota, and Derek Carr.
I think they did Stafford a little wrong there. Obviously, he hasn't even won anything, so I get that, but I would consider him an above-average quarterback in the NFL. So seeing him packed with those guys, I think it's a bit insulting.
I would have had him ahead of Dalton and Mariota for sure. My thing is, I agree with you that I think he is a better quarterback than those guys, but coming off the season he had last year, where
he did have a bad season, yeah.
And that's what they're basically judging it off of, I'm assuming.
I mean, you got to give him a couple points for all those sidearm throws he makes.
I don't think that's a stat.
Well, anyway,
it's got to be agility or something, but yeah. What's up, Trev?
Oh, I'm just saying, looking at the Lions ratings in general for those interested, the best rated Lions player would be Damon Harrison at a 95, which
Snacks.
Is really good.
Our whole D-line's probably up there. Yeah, Flowers, too.
Flowers is an 87. They only have Deshaun Hand at a 79. And then we got Darius Slay up there, not a lineman, but a defender, obviously, at 89. They rate our wide receivers a lot, too.
Galladay.
Jones, Galladay, and Amendola all over 80.
That's good, yeah.
Well, overall, the Lions are an 80 overall as a team. They're lower middle of the pack there, probably around 20, 21, it seems.
Really?
Yeah. The Eagles are number 1 at 89.
That makes sense, but I feel like the Lions, I mean, I guess they're playing in a tough division this year, but I would think that they're at least an average NFL team. I think they're probably right about 8 wins this year.
Their biggest rating drop here is the offense. They say the defense is going to be pretty good, But the offense, they're just not buying the weapons that we have. And we got a lot of young players. Tight end we just drafted. Is it Hawkinson?
Hawkinson, and then we got, I think,
TJ.
Jesse James, too, from the Steelers.
Wow.
Yep.
So we have some weapons on offense. You mix that in with like Amendola, Galladay, Jones, a couple of our receivers too. Like it's not that bad offensively. Obviously we have Carry-On, and then we signed C.J. Anderson too. So we kind of got Carry-On had a good year last year, and we have a third down back again. We are missing some spots on the O-line, but I don't think our offense is all that bad.
I think our biggest problem is actually the division we play in. I mean, if you look at the rest of the teams in our division, the Bears are really making a serious playoff
all
push
decent
right now.
quarterbacks, and the Bears' defense is insane too.
Yeah, and I mean, are you going to take Stafford over Aaron Rodgers? I mean, sure, we've beaten Green Bay a few times recently, but I mean, my trust is generally with Green Bay over Detroit just on past history. And even Minnesota, with their sort of ups and downs, they've positioned themselves to be in a better position, especially defensively, than we are currently.
Yeah, that's true. All we need is just for someone to create a my player and rate everything at 99, and then we'll be good to go.
Akinfenwa. It's a FIFA player. Well, talking about this, Lions coverage here, a little bit of Pistons coverage, I think we should jump into the next discussion that Gibbs and you and I have had for the past couple of months, which is the state of Motown sports. We got the Lions, the Pistons, Tigers, Red Wings. Is that all four?
This is going to be a really painful conversation.
It's a tough one to have. But I thought of a couple questions to put out there. One of them would be best team that we have right now.
The best team right now?
Yeah, I'm not saying closest to a championship. It's just best team. Because I think the Pistons might be the best team we have, but they're not close to a championship compared to the other teams in the league.
I mean, the thing is the Pistons will make will make the playoffs, but they're not going to do anything there. They're going to be constantly fighting for that 6th, 7th, 8th seed, like borderline playoff team.
Exactly.
I think, yeah, you could throw the Pistons in that discussion. I think you could also throw the Lions in there, which might be kind of a bold take because they haven't done anything.
Just overall best team in Detroit, which is kind of, like as you said, it's a bit of a sad statement.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions went out there and won like 8 or 9 games and kind of made a push for one of those wild card.
About
playoff.
a 500 team, maybe another win or two above.
I mean, we'll see how the defense turns out with like Patricia this year. He's got a couple of his guys.
Patty Ice.
I think they'll be a fun team to watch.
No, for me, my confidence is probably more in the Pistons in terms of them making the playoffs, so I would slightly lean there. However, I think the Lions are right there or just slightly behind them. The Tigers and Pistons are very clearly still both in rebuilding mode. Red Wings, sorry.
Well, they might be the most hope for the future, though, would you say?
Oh, the Red Wings for sure. Obviously, they brought Stevie back, the man, the myth, the legend, and he seems to know what he's doing on the rebuilds. He rebuilt Tampa very quickly, and they were sure they didn't win a cup with him there, but they were a perennial like Stanley Cup contender in his 9 years.
The eyes on the prize.
The Tigers, I mean, they have some good pieces too with Manning, Mize, Perez in the minors. So I think they do have some good guys.
Did you say Perez and Perez twice?
They have 2 Perezes. One's a pitcher.
Franklin Perez,
yeah,
the guy we got back in the Verlander trade. He was the main piece.
Yeah, I know that he's had a bunch of injury problems along the way, but when he's actually out there pitching, he does all right.
I do like the Tigers' young pitching in the minor leagues, but I would tend to lean Red Wings as being closer to the Stanley Cup over the Tigers being in the World Series purely because of the cap situation. The Red Wings, the last of their bad contracts, which I think would be Mike Green, ends after this season. So they're really going to have a lot of cap space to not only pay the guys they have there, but bring in a lot of...
there's no doubt that's true. I mean, the Tigers are definitely 3-4 years out, but once some of these pieces do start getting up to the major leagues, I think they'll be more of a fun team to watch, more exciting.
And once that Cabrera contract comes off the books, if some of those guys are there, look out for us in free agency. That's all I got to say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're stuck with that for a while.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I put on here for Detroit sports was best stadium experience for fans. Can you beat the Ferris wheel at Comerica Park?
The Ferris wheel and they have the carousel, too.
Yeah.
Dynamic duo. Great combo.
Plus, you can see how fast you can pitch.
That's true.
That's true.
Get to run the bases after the game, and on weekend games, you get the fireworks.
Mm-hmm. They used to have that fountain in center field there of the cars.
Oh, yeah, when they ever hit a home run. I think they're last in the MLB with home runs right now.
Yeah,
Stat of the day.
The odds of seeing that now are pretty rare. But I would have to agree on Comerica. I haven't been to Little Caesars Arena yet, so I gotta throw that out as a caveat.
Honestly, yeah, neither have I. I gotta make it out there.
But
for the Pistons game this year.
But for me, I always prefer going to Comerica over Ford Field, even though I tend to enjoy watching football more.
I do kind of have an bit of an oddball for you guys. Have you ever been to one of those Detroit FC games? In Hamtramck, like the experience there is wild. Like you got the home fans there like chanting and yelling and throwing smoke grenades the whole game.
I've always wanted to go to one.
Like I'm not a huge soccer guy and I had a blast there.
What do you mean you're not a big soccer guy?
You're right. I love soccer.
You're our soccer expert.
Pete and I refer to ourselves both as soccer guys, and we haven't been to any of these games. You're the expert. You've been to the local.
Yeah, it's just got to get on my level.
Had a good time?
Yeah, I was just scouting content for future podcasts in the future.
Well, maybe we got to send all of us down there and give our reactions at some point.
I'm down.
Let's do it.
Have you guys been watching any of the U.S. Open? Or was it not the U.S. Open?
British
Open. Yeah.
Well, I've been watching it, but that's not the golf I want to talk about. I want to talk about this Holey Moley show for like 3 weeks now. Trev, I know you've been watching a little bit of it.
I watched about 15 minutes of, I think, the second episode.
It reminds me of Wipeout.
It's Wipeout, but worse for me.
Can you guys give me like a bit of a premise here? I haven't actually watched it, but I know that you've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. So I just kind of want to see like what's going on there.
Yeah, it's a mini golf based show that it's like a tournament that they have, and there's like 6 different holes that the people putt on, and they're competing like mano-a-mano, like 1v1.
Okay.
And it reminds us of Wipeout because there's all sorts of obstacles they have to go through. They'll play it up. They'll be more dramatic. They got the announcers, who I think are kind of annoying there.
Yeah, it's Rob Riggle, and I don't know who the other guy is, but I think about half the show's airtime is just them talking instead of you actually seeing people making fools of themselves.
Okay, yeah, they're just kind of like talking people up.
Yeah.
Trying to like make jokes and stuff.
Like you'll putt a ball over this hill, and then you have to run across this water, and like the steps are obviously made too slippery, so they just fall into the water every time.
So the show is just like extreme mini golf then?
Yeah, they thought the mini golf wouldn't be enough for people to watch, so instead.
Okay, I mean, I guess that's entertaining. Now, isn't Seth Curry kind of related to this?
Steph.
Oh yeah, not his brother. Jeez.
Whoa. He is. He's the founder, producer of the show, something like that.
Okay, cool.
Like he's got his name on it.
So did he have to go out there and do this because LeBron was making Space Jams?
Yeah, one of the holes, he has to actually chip the ball for him, like over the water. I saw him out there.
Oh,
so.
He's taking shots too?
Yeah, I give him credit for that.
Okay. Yeah, good for him.
How many seasons will you give this show?
1 or 2.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it does.
I feel like every show only gets like 1 or 2 seasons anymore.
Especially a show where the only thing I've thought about is that it's just another show but done worse. And I mean, that's not to say it still can't be entertaining. I mean, the episode I was watching, there were these 2 people trying to run up like this mountain that had very clearly had some sort of like lubricant on it, so it was like impossible. And this poor like older gentleman was trying to get up there, slipped, and like I'm pretty sure he broke his nose.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
There. So I hope they have good insurance on that show.
How do they find people for these shows?
I would totally.
They just pull them off the street.
I found out there's like actual rankings for putt.
No, there is.
Like player rankings.
Like all of the people they chose actually had some sort of like putt qualification.
Like the PGA Tour, but for mini golf. Essentially.
I didn't do that much research.
I feel like I could get into that sport.
I would love to like find out how to at least enter into like a tournament or something. Throw my hat in the ring there. Do people still say throw your hat in the ring?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you do.
A circus term?
I have no idea where that comes from.
I know it's a figure of speech, but I mean, really the origins are unknown.
Oh, is that enough golf coverage, I think? Enough mini golf coverage for this week? Is it time for Pete's sake, Gibbs?
Yeah, let's hear it, Pete.
All right, I got something for you guys. So I wanted to use my segment this week to talk about an actual serious issue in the sports world. So this isn't going to be like a happy story here. I'm going to be talking about the Santa Anita racing track.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that, like in the news.
Yeah,
What's going on there?
Now, the information I'll be providing to you today was reported by, I think it's Joe Draper Drap, and Karina Knoll of the New York Times. That's the article I based it off of. And for those of you who don't know, a total of 30 horses have died this year alone at Santa Anita. This means like practically every single week a horse, if not multiple, has been put down, which is crazy. And one of the reasons for this, according to the article, is that horses cannot be immobilized. So once they suffer an injury, such as like a leg fracture, they usually have to be put down and euthanized, which is why the number's so high. But the real question is, why are so many injuries occurring at this track to begin with? Well, there are a couple of theories that all contribute to the end result for the horses. First are performance-enhancing drugs. While they are typically discouraged, if not banned,
They're roiding up the horses?
from a majority of racetracks, they're banned. Santa Anita has been accused of being more lenient with what they allow, and this is based on surveillance tapes that they have as evidence. And these drugs can be extremely harmful to horses because it allows them to run like faster and stronger like you'd think a human would. But oftentimes it's too powerful for their own bones and limbs.
Are those banned at all the Triple Crown events? You know, or?
I don't know for sure, but I would assume yes.
Okay. All right.
But that's why they injure themselves, and that's how the fractures occur. Next, the actual racing surface is called into question because horses have been running in rainy and unsafe weather on a track that's been overused and torn up by so many races in like a short span. It's also worth noting that the track surface expert that they had at the track just decided to retire last December, and that was right before all this stuff started occurring.
That is really sketchy, yeah.
Not a coincidence there. And the final suspected cause of the deaths, however, is like the most damning, and that's agreed to maximize as large of a profit as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
This means running as many races as possible, which, as mentioned before, create damage to the track. According to the article, this winter, Santa Anita ran 111 races on the track when it was listed as muddy or sloppy, compared to just 18 the previous year, which is absurd.
Yeah, obviously, like something's up there then.
Well, how often do they resod the track? Do they have that like listed? Or?
No, and they're obviously not giving enough time if they're running so many races. And I was going to say, in my opinion, that's the overlying reason why the deaths have occurred at Santa Anita, why the track continued to be open for so long before being shut down for 3 weeks, about a month ago, and why now the track has been reopened. In an attempt to collect the most money that they could, the track held as many races as possible, so gamblers
Before it was shut down?
Yeah. And because the racetrack did not want to lose any of those profits, that weekly gambling stream they had to come in, they stayed open for as long as they did, and that's why now they're reopened. And you can bet that's one of the reasons why they reopened, was to get that profit stream back.
So since like the reopening and like the resodding, have there been like a decrease in injuries, or is it still kind of up in the air?
Well, only reopened like a few weeks ago, and the article I was reading was like the beginning of this month, so we'll have to see. But reading about this racetrack has actually made me wonder what the future of like horse racing will be like. And I like watching the horses run around the track, but the actual imaging, in my opinion, of the horses getting whipped by the jockeys is a bit barbaric, I think. I know some people might say that nothing will change, but today's world, I don't think that's something you can just say. It's not going to
last. I honestly didn't even know people still did that.
And some of you might say that you like going to horse races, or that you've always wanted to go to the Kentucky Derby. But please, people go to the Kentucky Derby to wear those floppy hats you see.
Yeah, it's just they're going there for the party and for gambling purposes.
It's the pageantry of the event more so than the horse racing.
Get drunk in those mint juleps.
You can do that anywhere.
And that last part is why horse racing is still so prominent today, and it's with all the gambling that still takes place. That's why people go to the racetracks just in general, not just the Kentucky Derby. And look, I'm not saying that horse racing will go away, but it might have to change, maybe limit how much you can whip the horse, if at all. Or who knows, it may be completely wrong. The sport may look exactly the same in 50 years from now, if our grandchildren still putting $1,000 bets on Donner and Blitzen out there. You know what they say, Gibbs? Money makes the world go round, or in this case, makes the horses go around.
That's true. And I think you can make the analogy where it's kind of the similar thing going on in the NFL with like all the concussions and all that stuff. And there's people saying like the league isn't doing everything, where you can say the same thing in this case with the horses, where there's an association in charge that is kind of putting like their talent at risk.
It's just all about the money that they bring in. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, 30 horses dying in like 25 weeks is just ridiculous.
Just listening to you talk about that, like everything you say about the track surface from my personal experience is kind of weird, because I think they would sort of redo the dirt like they do in like your local dirt track. Like every time you go there for a race, they've re-leveled it at the beginning of like every week. So almost as soon as the races are done, they will immediately start putting the dirt back to where it was at the beginning, because that obviously gets kicked up as the cars go around. And I get that the horse racing tracks are typically larger, so it might be a little more difficult to do in terms of time, but it's definitely possible.
It's got to be about how many races they're putting out there at once, as well as, like I said, the surface expert or whatever, the track expert retiring. So they're just running as many as they can.
Well, true. If you're running horses there from essentially sun up to sundown, those races at the end are going to be, the track's going to be in pretty bad condition.
Like I said, 111 races on poor condition track is a ton. It's almost 100 more than they had the previous year.
Yeah, I know those horses are so expensive too. Like if I was owning one of those horses, I wouldn't want to race it at this particular track.
Exactly. I feel the same way. That's all I had for you this week, guys.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can pick you guys up with a little more of an exciting, interesting topic.
What you got for us, Gibbs?
So I kind of have a question this week, and that question is, what's the purest form to test athletic ability? Some might say the pure speed of a 40-yard dash, or the strength displayed on the bench press, or possibly even the stamina needed to finish a marathon would be the ultimate display of pure athleticism. Others could say that the endurance needed to finish a decathlon or even an Ironman would give them the upper hand. However, there's nothing more testing and physically grueling on the human body as the athletic event known as the beer mile.
Amen.
The concept is easy. 4 beers, 4 laps around a track, drinking 1 beer for every quarter mile completed. The beer must be 5% or higher in terms of ABV, and if you don't keep all the beer in your stomach, aka you're throwing up, there's a penalty lap given. What's not so easy is the actual event itself. It will push your body to the absolute limit, and something that just a normal person can't do. Corey Belmore, the 23-year-old Canadian, currently holds the world record for the event with a time of 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
It's ridiculous.
He will also likely represent the Canadians in the 800-meter dash in the 2020 Olympics.
Is he going to be drinking the beer while he does it?
I hope so, honestly. The beer mile itself is just something completely different than any other form of athletic competition. It's different from a regular buzz when you're just having a few cold ones with the boys. And a hot summer day, about a week ago, nothing sounded better than cooling down and throwing some back while also getting some exercise in. I got up to the starting line with a lot of anticipation, thinking a mile isn't that far. Chugging a beer isn't that hard. The first beer went down easy. It was a different story as the race went on. The feeling of having 48 fluid ounces of beer bouncing around in your stomach is surprisingly a terrible feeling.
You don't say.
I've never been through more of an exhausting and more of a physical exercise in my entire life. Pete, you were there.
Yeah,
you participated. What did you think?
I took 3rd place. I took a half hour. So that shows you the competition we had going on there. The 1st place, shout out to Bryce Potok, was in 10 minutes, about 10, 11 minutes.
It's a really good job. Like, I thought I was going to be able to finish it in like 10 minutes, and I think it took me like 21 minutes or something like that.
For me, the running was easy. It was just the drinking of the 3rd and 4th beer was just...
Yeah, like the first one, wasn't too bad. Second one, you could still fight it off. By the time you got to your 3rd and 4th, just dying.
Well, you drank them consistently, like consistent time, I believe, too, right?
Yeah. I tried to like space it out so I wasn't like throwing them back in like 2 seconds, where I know you guys were down in those things.
Same thing, just like in a regular race. You want to burn out too early there.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Well, if we do another one of these events, we'll be sure to cover that live. Is that right, Trev?
Of course. We got some camera equipment coming in, so...
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Well, thanks for picking us up there, Gibbs. Appreciate that story. Keep us any updates, like I said. We'll bring those to you guys. Is it time for Trev?
Of course.
What you got for us this week, bud?
Well, I think the big announcement in the pop culture world was the direction Marvel's going for Phase 4. I mean, other than Black Widow, we really didn't know when they were going to be releasing certain films. So Black Widow is obviously going to be the first one coming out in this phase. Should be a prequel.
Yeah, she died, so I'm assuming so.
Yeah. So that'll be the first movie coming out in May of next year. They've also announced 2 new characters. Well, one's a set of characters. The other one's just a character coming into the MCU. They got an Angelina Jolie-led project, The Eternals. You guys heard of them?
Is she Mrs. Smith?
She is.
No, I haven't heard of The Eternals.
The only thing I know more about Marvel is soccer. Huge Marvel fan, huge soccer fan.
All right, appreciate it. Well, clearly all of us have lots of insight on the Eternals, and we look forward to seeing what Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel can do with them. Also, we got Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I believe that's the first Asian-led movie.
That's a smart thing for them to do, get the Asian market in there.
Yeah, and the way they handled Black Panther, which obviously, like, that was the first Black-led movie in the universe, I trust that they'll handle that properly, and it'll be a good time. Got a Doctor Strange sequel announced, too.
I liked that one.
I think it's the most visually stunning Marvel movie.
Had a little bit of like an Inception kind of feel with the visuals.
It did. It was very trippy. I would say it had the trippiest sequences until the latest Spider-Man movie, actually. But the big prize here that was officially announced with the release date for me, Thor 4, Thor Love and Thunder.
Wow.
Not only are we seeing the return of Thor, thus far the only Marvel character to get a fourth movie, also Taika Waititi returning as director.
Nice with the name there, that's good.
Yeah, we get Natalie Portman coming back into the fray.
Padme.
But not as...
Maybe I should start watching Marvel movies.
Not just as Jane Austen, though. She's going to be Lady Thor.
What?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, Trev.
Breaking all the gender barriers.
I'm excited for that one. When's that coming out?
That is coming out in November of 21. They also gave some updates on some various properties that don't have official release dates yet. The most notable of which being the Fantastic Four and X-Men, both coming into the Marvel Universe for the first time. And also a Blade reboot starring Mahershala Ali.
I never saw the original.
You know, they were pretty badass movies back in the day with Wesley Snipes. Looking forward to see what Mahershala can do with the property. He's been pretty good in everything I've seen him in thus far. And really, there's not a project they brought up, at least on the film side, that I wasn't like excited for.
Is that a Hawkeye movie or a TV series I see?
Yep.
That's a real winner there, huh?
They're introducing, I forget what this character's name is, but it's essentially like a female version of Hawkeye in that show too.
Oh boy. Hawkeye was the worst Avenger, am I right? What is he going to do out there?
I mean, he was essentially just comic relief.
He's got a bow and arrow. What if he runs out of arrows? What is he going to do?
Well, I mean, he's got the Tony Stark connection for more arrows, but that's gone now.
The guy that plays him is Jeremy Renner. He has a new song in those Jeep ads.
Yeah.
So when you see a Jeep ad, it's him singing.
Do you think he saw the McConaughey Lincoln ads and thought, I got to do some of this?
Oh, yeah, and he brought a song with it, too.
Those are great commercials.
McConaughey?
Oh yeah, they get me going.
Are we driving cars or are they driving us?
There it is.
And on that note, this has been episode 5, For Pete's sake.
See you guys next week.
See you.